This is the Ben Herman Show.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Ben Herman Show. I've got another special guest today, Mr. David from LA Photo Party. How's it going, man?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, good. So we're here at Photo Booth Expo and Mobile Entertainment Expo, and you've got a booth downstairs as well, right?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about LA Photo Party.
Yeah, LA Photo Party has been around since 2007. We started as an event service company doing weddings and bar and bat mitzvahs, and we realized we needed some cool software to make the things we wanted to do work. So we started making software, and once we had software, we were like, well, we can sell this to other operators in other cities. And then we realized, hey, our setup's kind of ugly. We got wires everywhere. We got a camera on a tripod and a monitor over there and all the lights. And we're like, what if we put these all into like a nice form factor? So we got into hardware, started making photo booths. And once we were making them for ourselves, you want to get those economies of scale with manufacturing. So we made more and started selling them. And now we still do all three of those aspects of our business. The event services, much more focused on corporate now, as well as the hardware and software. So we have now, depending how you divide up the models, 5 different photo booths we sell, and 4 main pieces of software,
Wow.
As well as our event services to kind of cater to anybody in the industry.
Which I think is super unique. So I've seen either manufacturing, software, and manufacturing, but never a manufacturer and then also still providing event services as well.
Yeah, there's very few companies. I think there might be some that do some of a little bit of this or that, but there's really nobody else that does the event services and the hardware and software. I think it gives us a real leg up for all of it. Our event clients who need something unique, we have the capabilities to do that software development or the hardware development. And then, especially if an event client is paying for something really cool for their event and in development, once it's developed, we can offer it to our software clients without too much trouble, as well as just seeing what is happening in the industry from our event clients and kind of getting ahead of it, and being able to offer that to our other clients as well. And it goes the other way, also, where our software client might request a new feature, something like that, and we get it in our software, and then we have it to offer to our events clients.
Yeah. I can see definitely you having a leg up in a sense that since you're also a practitioner in the sense of taking your photo booths out in the field, right?
Yeah.
You get that real-time feedback of figuring out bugs, glitches to fix very soon, or feature requests before your customers even get to you.
Yeah,
right?
It's always, we're dealing with the pain in the butts, the bridezillas, the crazy corporate planners, and always thinking about like how to, it's not all just figuring out the terrible things, just ways to make things better or easier or systematize, in the hardware as well as our systems, and figuring that out and making it for us, working through any bugs, and then, incorporating that into our hardware or software.
Yeah. So what are you the most excited about in 2025 for LA Photo Party?
So 2025, we've got a new booth out, so I'm very excited. We're showing it off at the show. Downstairs here is the CASA photo booth. It's a enclosed photo booth, with a curtained old school style.
Nice.
Those have been, to me, really dead for a while.
Yeah.
We used to get maybe 1 request for them a year, and we try, for our event services, try and convince those clients to do something else. Occasionally.
It's mainly been all open air, right?
Yeah, it's been all open air. Maybe there's some enclosed modes for installs, but that's a little bit different than the events. And then as we got out of COVID, we started getting more and more requests, and it was, something we couldn't ignore, or couldn't, try and convince them to do something else. They would be wanting this.
Yep.
And again, not for installs, but for events, for a 3-hour event or a movie premiere or something like that. And so we started working on how can we provide that service. And, we started with some subcontracting to other companies that had an enclosed photo booth, because, we get a call, it's in 2 weeks, not enough time to make a new product. And then we found some used stuff that we built off of, we refurbished, so we could use temporarily, and kind of learn more about those. And kind of during this whole process, this is now about 2 years, since we started seeing that increase, thinking about how we could make our own product that would really work for our event clients and our hardware clients. And that's where we got to CASA, where we had to figure out, the big thing for us was making this not just sexy and good software and good hardware and all kind of the baseline stuff you need,
Yeah.
but making it really portable as well. Our event services team doesn't use trucks. We have no company trucks. We have one company Subaru that is on its last legs.
Really?
Yeah, it's mostly our staff, going out in their own cars, sedans.
Are we talking about sedans, mainly?
Sedans, sometimes SUVs,
Yeah.
got all the cross section of cars you would see, and so we had to make something that would fit in a small car but still able to pop up and be a really nice enclosed booth. And
I love that you actually designed something like that, because
Yeah.
I feel like even the open air style, I mean,
It
some
can
of them
add
are
up.
really hard to actually fit into a sedan or a
yeah,
SUV even. Yeah.
Yeah, so our CASA booth really breaks down really small. It's all built with pipes. Not exactly pipes, but that's the general idea, that fit together, lock together, and then you put the walls on. The case becomes the base for the light and camera and the monitor that kind of is hidden behind, the faceplate, and it all goes together. And I mean, if you got a tiny car, you're probably not gonna fit in there, but like a mid-sized sedan, it's one case and one long bag for the poles, and
Gotcha.
you're good to go.
What type of material are the walls made out of? Is it?
The walls are made out of I keep saying plasticky fabric, which to
Okay.
me, I feel like kind of makes sense. It's like this, but it doesn't have that soft feel. It's got kind of a more hard feel,
Okay, gotcha.
but it is a fabric in the end, which again means it can fold down.
Which is great, right?
But yeah, and it's, we call them edge glide panels. They lock into the panels at the top and the bottom and get stretched tight, so they look like
No wrinkles.
they look and feel like really solid walls, no
Yeah.
wrinkles. Another really cool thing about having the fabric is you can reprint for different styles or for specific clients as an upsell is branded. So if you have a corporate event, you can print all of the walls again
Oh my
just for
gosh.
that client, and
Wow.
it's fully, set for that client. Or even just in your day-to-day, you could have like a black pattern panel for general corporate events and a white, with
So you can
with
switch it
with
out,
the
which is
swirls for weddings.
Yeah.
So you could offer all of these styles, but it's still the same booth without too much additional cost.
I'm so glad we clarified that, because I was thinking about, I've been in the DJ and photo booth space for a while, and I recall, the wood paneled photo booths, they looked super clean, not like the old school ones back in the 80s and 90s, but very modern and slick, but they were heavy.
You needed a truck
super
and
heavy.
a forklift or
Oh my
a
gosh.
powered cart to get them in and out of
Yeah.
places, and
Yeah.
we didn't want to deal with that.
Well, that's amazing. then.
They're
Yes.
great there, but
Yeah.
dealing with it is so much additional effort, and sometimes that's worth it, sure. But for the day-to-day client, we wanted something that was really easier to work with and set up.
And I love the fact that you can switch the paneling out, right? Versus, again, with these older booths, if it got scraped or scratched, I mean, you'd have to figure out how to fix that. You
Yeah.
couldn't really brand it. I mean, I guess you could put decals on it or something like that. But again, more work.
Yeah.
Where this is just
Just
replaceable.
use a new panel. Yeah,
That's
if
awesome.
it does get scratched or something happens, it's pretty easy to replace the panel.
Yeah.
And they're still pretty easy to set up. We just got our final pieces in ready for the show, of course, last minute, and tested it out. And it took, with 2 people setting it up, was able to do it in 28 minutes. So we wanted to
Wow.
make it under a half hour, and
that's
we hit
incredible,
that,
too.
and probably can get faster, as you learn or as we learn too, because like I said, we got all the final pieces in together to have the whole set and be able to set it up.
Yeah.
So that's even on our second and third try under a half hour.
I'm sure there's people watching right now and listening to this that are like, yes. They're excited about your photo booths. So tell me about the internals of the software. What types of cameras you use? Is it I know there's tablet booths, there's DSLR, or mirrorless booths. We just talked about that, right?
So there's definitely DSLR in the CASA. We have options for both throughout our range, DSLR and ones that just use the iPad for the super simple setups and even drop-off booths.
Okay.
But specifically for the CASA, we use Canon cameras. You can swap it out. We recommend the R100, which is what we offer with it. That's got the good mix of high end and good quality without going overkill. You can buy a full frame $3,000 camera if you want to use it in a booth, but you're not really going to notice the difference on a photo strip. It's a little bit overkill. And then there's a ring light around the camera as well as a flash that has a constant light. So you're getting a little bit of that constant light to help the camera autofocus and people see themselves on the screen. And then you get the flash going through a diffuser to get really good quality lighting on the final outputs as well. So in the end, it ends up looking really nice. It is the actual fabric panel as well that is the diffuser. It's just a white section of the panel. So again, it's less pieces to deal with. It's
is there
all
a camera
included.
cutout as well, like lens cutout?
Yes, there's a lens cutout through that panel, as well as for the monitor and PC, which standard comes with a Windows PC and our photo booth upload software.
Okay, gotcha. So it is, from the customer's perspective, very clean on the inside.
Yes.
Because I've seen also enclosures and then these cases, these flight cases, ugly flight cases inside, right? So this is actually a lot.
So it's very clean from the customer's perspective. The road case we have that holds most of the gear actually becomes the base for the camera and light, but that's hidden inside the booth and for the printer as well.
Cool.
So we really minimize the stuff you need because that case is doing double duty to hold all of the equipment for transport and then to hold it all steady in the booth as well.
Gotcha. What's the weight of the case with all the things inside?
With all of the things inside, you're at about 80 pounds. We're looking to try and slim that down as we go into more production, but with our prototype units here in the 80, 85 pound range.
Gotcha. So it would take probably two people then
to lift it in and out.
Gotcha.
You potentially would need two people, or one person who's been working out.
Yeah, working out. And then I'm assuming dolly it in. And then...
Well, it's on wheels, so
it's on wheels.
Need a separate dolly. There's the case and then one bag for the poles, and you might have some accessories, but it's a flat top road case, so you can kind of stick everything on top and roll it in, and then you open everything up and you build it essentially kind of around the case. Hook up all your electronics and the power and cables, and you're ready to go.
Nice. So I know you have the new enclosed booth, which is the most exciting thing, but you also have open air style photo booths as well.
Yeah, we started, we originally started with one we called the Photo Party Station, but things didn't really take off until we released the Infinite in 2016. And that was kind of the first booth that used the bounce card on top that now you see on all the different styles of booths. And that won the best photo booth of the year, the second Photo Booth Expo.
Oh, cool.
It's PVX, I want to say 2016 and 17. So that's kind of our flagship booth. Comes with a large monitor. The bounce card gives you great light, and it's DSLR. It's using that same software, which we use across a lot of our ecosystem. And that is still a really popular one. And then we've got a little bit of range that kind of builds off of that. We have a Venture photo booth, which is similar but slimmed down. So we were getting a lot of requests, especially from female and smaller boothers, that the Infinite was a little heavy, tough to put up by themselves. So we made this smaller one that's a little bit more portable. It also kind of fits in better at some events, where you want to be kind of more blended in rather than really standing out. Again, it depends on the needs. And we also now have our Explore photo booth, which is the iPad-based booth, fits all in one case. So it can be really easy to set up and portable, good for drop-off booths. On our event services, we've been doing that a little bit more, the drop-offs. It's kind of different for us because our event services has really been focused on like the higher end stuff, but we do get, even from the same clients who might book us for a 5-figure gig, they're like, oh, we also have this kind of side thing, but with a really low budget, like what do we have that can make it work? And we really don't want to send them to another company like, oh, that's not what we do. We only do this big stuff. We want to kind of be able to cater to all of their needs. So it's been a really great fit for that, to do a simpler, lower cost service that is still, a good service for them. And we've even been doing some just shipping booths. We'll take, again, it's one case. So we've had, for example, this conference that's in Cheyenne, Wyoming. They didn't have a budget to fly us out, but we shipped them the booth with the software all set up for them.
A couple so they can operate it themselves.
Yeah, a couple really simple instructions. They set it up, turn it on. We've got our tech support if they need any help, and then they left it up for a week, put it back in the case, and shipped it back to us.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, that should get your wheels turning then when it comes to other ways that you might be able to sell your services across the globe versus just local. Yeah, you have different options out there. The one other booth, just to go through and be completist, is we now have a Venture Go, which is the same form factor of the Venture I mentioned earlier, but with an iPad and DSLR. So for those folks that do really prefer the iPad, they're more comfortable with it.
but want the DSLR quality, we've got that option as well.
Awesome. So how does that work then? Does the DSLR plug into the iPad, and then the iPad
Yes.
becomes kind of the
So the iPad is the
feedback
screen.
screen, or-
iPad is the screen in the computer. That's how the Explorer works as well, but that one uses the iPad camera, so
Gotcha.
it's simpler on the back end.
Yeah.
With the DSLR, you do need an adapter to go in the iPad because it's only got one connection. So
but better photo quality then?
yeah, better photo quality from the DSLR. But you get an adapter, and it's all built into the booth that the power plugs into, the DSLR plugs into. It's got a Ethernet jack if you need to get hardline internet, because don't always want to deal with Wi-Fi.
True.
So everything goes in there, connects to the iPad, and the software on the iPad, which is called Landmark, controls the DSLR, and you get those really good photos with the iPad experience.
Nice. Well, tell me about the software then. So what makes your software stand out apart from other softwares that folks that are already, they own photo booths and already running them?
Yeah, so our first main software was Photo Booth Upload for the Windows side of things. And we've really been trying to kind of innovate and stay ahead of the game. Almost 10 years now. That was 2016. It was out, so we were working on it even in 2015. So I think I can claim 10 years.
Yeah.
Can't believe it's already 2025. It's just got a ton of features. We call it kind of the Swiss Army knife, but it's also easy to use and get started with, and kind of something you can grow with if you're just getting started.
Nice.
You do simple photo strips, or 4x6s with an overlay, and then if that's where you're getting started with your client calls and they want to do an animated GIF or a boomerang, you could just say, yeah, I can handle that, and then call up our tech support and say, hey, I sold an animated GIF, how do I do this? I was actually just at a lunch, and there was a guy who sat next to me from El Salvador, and he just said, I just used your software for the first time. We were doing a premiere for this movie Wolfman, and used the morph feature, which is a feature we've had for ages, and I think doesn't get the credit it deserves, but it's really great to use, where it'll morph your face into another face, whether another guest
Really?
or a preset thing.
Wow.
We've done a lot of, for our event services in LA, we do a lot of movie promotions, TV, so it was like,
imagine, yeah.
morphing into Doctor Strange, or it was a Star Wars one. And for this guy in El Salvador, he was doing the Wolfman, which you can imagine is so much fun. You're turning into the whole thing, and it kind of blends you in. But I was telling him, because he had just used this for the first time for this event, he needed it. It also still works really well for things like weddings, because you get a lot of couples. And so, you get a guy with a big beard and a girl with long hair, and their faces morph into each other. And in the middle, it's like, oh, that's what our kid would look like. And it's, long hair and half a beard and like super silly. So people just have so much fun with it.
That's cool. Wow.
That's been out for a while. The newest stuff is obviously AI. And, we have a ton of AI features in the software to do either face swap into, a photo you set up or one of the existing options. It's really controllable, or generative AI, where you can kind of let the AI go a little bit more wild. You take a photo and you say, turn you into a punk rocker, is a really fun one.
You can tell it on the photo booth itself?
So usually it's the operator will set up a few options. You don't have every guest, try and do it and learn AI processing.
Forever, right?
But it is adjustable in the back end for the operator to adjust things. And it even has a few questions it'll ask the guest. So, and you can turn these on or off as needed, but we'll ask usually gender, ethnicity. Sometimes if they're wearing glasses, it really helps the AI get things better. Because we've seen so many where it's like, oh, that's a cool photo of a crazy wizard, but it doesn't look like me. The way to do it really well with the AI photo booths is you got to get the cool thing, turn somebody into a wizard, but it's still got to be you, or else it's just a picture of a wizard.
Yeah.
So having those options helps the AI get it right. Not optional, but a cool thing we do with the punk rock one is we also ask about hair color. And the idea is you don't put in your hair color, you put in what you want there. So it's red and green, purple and pink. And you put that in, and it does a lot of fun, give you a tattoo and crazy hair, stuff like that. And our software still works really well as you get more people in it, which I know I've heard has been a challenge for some. And so ours can handle 2 with the generative AI, 2 or 3 people generally pretty well. It starts to get a little iffy, to be perfectly honest. Once you get, a crowd of 10 people, it might, mix things up. The AI, just doesn't do as much across the field versus if it has a large, face as most of the frame. But we at our events, regularly let 2 or 3 people take photos and turns them all into punk rockers or wizards, or royalty was one we did recently. And those are a ton of fun, and it's really cool to just be creative with it. When you get a client request and see what you can figure out to turn that into. We have a ton of pre-built options as well in the software that people can just turn on and off without having to understand any of the more complex back-end stuff.
Gotcha. And in regards to support, do you have like a plan that a person has to join, or is this something that's just like with the purchase of any photo
There's
booth?
no plan with the purchase of the photo booth. We have 7-day-a-week support by phone and email, so you can call us up. And generally, if people buy a booth, we try and set up a time with them when they're just getting started to get on the phone with support, just kind of to get ahead of it, because it's when you're just getting started, there's that learning curve, and things can be tough, and you miss something obvious, and it becomes so much harder than it needs to be. So we really want to set people up for success. It's something we say a lot in the company, like across our internally, but also with our clients. It's like, how can we set you up for success?
Yeah.
And so we really try and get new photo booth owners to set up that call with our support team when they're doing that very first time taking the booth out, when it can be so overwhelming, to kind of get them on the right track and set up for success.
Nice. Wow. It sounds like, you have a full suite of everything covered.
We try.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. So how can people find out more about all the photo booths and all the services? And I'm assuming that you probably have 2 different places. So people that are looking in LA, or potentially actually even they could have you ship a booth to them, right?
Yeah, a good chunk of our business is in LA and New York. That's where we have offices.
Gotcha.
LA is our headquarters. That's where we build our booths, but we also have an event service team out of New York.
Cool.
And so by having those 2, we can also travel to a lot of places.
Yeah.
We do a fair number of travel events around the country, and usually a few international ones, which are always our team duking it out to see who gets to go to Aruba one time, or Sweden. We had some cool ones. The people who got on that one regretted it when their flight back got delayed, and they were stuck at JFK for like 18 hours. But that's what happens.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
But so on the DJs looking to search for their next investment, what would be the best place to check?
You can find our website, www.laphotoparty.com, or Google it. We're pretty easy to find. By the time you're hearing this, it's probably too late to see us on the showroom floor downstairs. But we are extending our show specials to your audience, and you can use the code ProfitableDJ on our website to get discounts on our software and hardware.
That's awesome. You heard David, so definitely take advantage of that. Head on over to his website, and make sure to use ProfitableDJ as a promo code, so that way you can get
all one word, just like that.
Yep. Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, David, for joining the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Again, make sure to check out his website. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thanks.